Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the latest episode of JKL Media, where we continue our journey through the Expanse. We're on season 3, episode 6, Immolation. And as usual, I'm here with my awesome co-hosts, Jesse
Hello.
and Karen.
Hello.
And to no one's surprise, we do find out that Amos is indeed that guy. So, with that, let's do our quick thoughts. And I really want you guys to be quick. Okay, Jesse, what did you think of this episode? I know it's
I
hard because so much
no,
happened.
I loved it. It was a great two-parter. When you we talked about how much I had loved the past two episodes, and this one was just as good. I think just a trilogy of episodes that you could show to anyone and say, "Hey, I know you don't know who these characters are, but this is the kind of storytelling this series gives." Absolutely wonderful.
Karen.
Love the episode. Gutted.
Wow.
How's
Man,
that?
you guys really took it to heart. I'm impressed. All right. Oh boy, so where do we start with this episode? Oh man. Let's do Karen a favor because she's been carrying quite the pitchfork for this particular character. Let's do the UN stuff first. So
Let's do.
let's do that. Last episode, we saw that Elizabeth Mitchell's character, Anna, had received the transmission that Christian had of all the revelations that Aaron Wright had made during that communications to Mao. And in this episode, she gives that message to the head of the UN, who is, what's his name again? I should know it.
It says Esteban here. I don't remember what his last. Secretary General.
Secretary General.
Gillis? No.
Yeah, I think it might be
Is that it?
Gillis.
Gillis, yeah.
Yeah. She gives him that message, and yeah, let's just go through that all the UN stuff. Karen, what did you think of all of that?
Um, Excellent. It's a nice partial resolution, I think.
What do you say partial?
I'm assuming we're going to see more of what happens to Aaron Wright. So
Okay.
we just see he gets taken away. I may be assuming too much. I don't know.
I'll have to watch out
Yeah, I
for the
know.
episodes to find out.
And part of me agreed with the statement that Aaron Wright said, where he was talking about how fickle Gillis is, where whoever talks to him last is the person that he listens to. And I actually said that he is very impressionable and he kind of just goes with the flow. Whoever tells him something, he believes them. And not that I agree with anything Aaron Wright did, but when he finally, I loved when Anna and Gillis were talking to him and it was like the mask just fell, right? It was in an instant he changed into the snake that we know him to be. And he's complaining about, oh, it was so tiring putting up with this, talking him into everything and him wavering back and forth. And I enjoyed that he gave up right away and that he got taken away. Here's the part that bothered me immensely is that last statement that Gillis makes to Anna, where he's going to use Aaron Wright as a scapegoat to further his career. And I think Anna had the same feeling I had, which is, okay, that's not learning your lesson. You are furthering your own career instead of thinking about what's going on. And I
Or just in
was
more simpler terms, he's just more concerned about himself than anything else.
correct.
Yeah.
And Anna, she actually brings up the fact that they protested and they had all this morality and everything, and that he started to turn just like that, right?
Mhm.
She was upset that back then he wanted to use someone as a martyr, that sometimes someone has to become a martyr. And then that's foreshadowing for the end of the episode where he's going to use Aaron Wright as his quote unquote martyr. And Anna is incredibly disappointed. And I think Is that why Anna stopped talking to him before all this? Is that why? Because of how he acted about the martyr and how he got
Yes.
people killed? Okay.
Yes.
So
I
we
think
can
so.
assume, yeah, we can assume that
If it hadn't been for the message, we never would
she
have
would have
talked
been
to.
gone already.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she sees history repeating itself. And I think she's become incredibly disillusioned with him and knows he's just not doing the right thing at all. Even
Hmm.
though this turns out to be a good thing, it's not for any purpose other than for himself. I was really sad for Anna in that last moment. Happy to see Aaron Wright arrested and taken away. Thank goodness. Because he is just gross and upset about Gillis acting the way he did. So yeah, it was a lot of stuff, but it
Yes.
can all be boiled down to glad about Aaron Wright, sad for Anna, and upset about Gillis,
Right.
at least as
Very
far
good.
as I'm concerned.
Yep. Jesse.
Yeah, I think to expand on a little bit that what Karen is saying, his first thought, his first instinct is, oh, good, I'm now in the clear. I get to throw all this mess off to someone else.
Yep.
Yep.
Not, oh, how horrible, we had a war that shouldn't have started.
Yep.
Oh no, the millions of people died because of Enright's behavior. His first thought is, oh, good, I have a scapegoat now. And this means I'm going to be in the clear, and this will help my legacy forever. And you could see Anna's disgust in her face with him.
Yep.
Yes, I do. I love that Enright did not, okay, I'm not going to try to deny. I'm not going to say, oh, this is different than you think. It's not what you think. He just immediately, and I think he has a true point. Are you just tired? This guy is an empty suit. Enright, I think, is evil and was
Hmm.
doing the wrong things for the wrong reasons and was about for personal gain and personal politically, but at least he had a vision. Our Secretary General just wants to have power for power's sake. So I
Yeah,
yeah,
Aaron Wright was thinking about the country, right?
The
Earth or
world.
the
and
world,
himself,
right?
I think also,
Sure,
but
but
yes.
that wasn't his only thing. And I think Gillis is only thinking about himself. So,
Yeah. So I really thought that was a great way the show twisted us that I'm giving you what you want, but at the same time, I don't think you're going to be very satisfied because, yes, Enright is arrested and taken away, but I don't know if the good guys win. We still have this Secretary General that was so easily manipulated. So I thought that was a great way to end this segment for now, right? I'm like
hmm.
Mhm.
Karen, I would think Enright may come back again. There may be a trial. Who knows what's going to happen? But for now, at least, the war has ended. That's the other
Mm,
thing I was frustrated at. They didn't show them immediately, okay, call the ships and tell them cease fire or anything. There, and I realize there's a 20 to 30-minute delay, but he didn't seem to, and I don't know, maybe that happened off camera, right? When he had him in there, he had already done that. But it was a satisfying yet also frustrating way to look at it.
Yeah. I especially like how Aaron Wright said like that Gillis is just like a walking mirror or whatever. His last conversation had been with a janitor. He'd be talking about the value of a mop or something like that. I thought that was a really good takedown of the character. And as you pointed out, Karen, Elizabeth's look on her face when she realizes that Gillis is has not learned anything, and that Aaron Wright calls it out perfectly that the only thing Gillis is worried about is his reputation and not the future of the planet. As misguided as Aaron Wright's actions might have been, he has a much better grasp on the situation than Gillis does. Gillis is just worried about his
yep.
own reputation and nothing else. So that was
Yeah.
very well done. Alrighty.
A
So now
lot
we
of
get into, oh,
Here's
go
one
ahead.
of the things I love about this show.
A lot
There
of
was a
gray.
lot of stuff that happened and they didn't have to spell it out for us.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's good. Jesse, are you still on, or are you? Here he's coming back. Okay. I wasn't sure if you were out of the room. Can't
He
hear
was
you.
leaving
He's
us.
muted. There he is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Now to break down the rest of the episode is gonna be tough because there's so much interleaving between various aspects. So what I'm gonna do is I just want to deal with let's make the Agatha King. I always want to call it Agatha Christie. The focal point of the discussions of and how it interacts with what's going on with Io and the Razorback. And so all the stuff on that's happening on the Agatha King in terms of like when you discuss that, just whatever conversations you want to make about how it interacts with the IO and the Razorback and the Rocinante, I guess you could say to a certain extent, just do it from that lens, and we'll get into the other Rocinante IO stuff after we discuss the Agatha King. And I'll let Jesse go first, but all I want to say off the top is that I really gonna miss Cody.
That's
And
why I'm gutted.
while I thought that we're trying to be clever with him not being able to come up with a satisfying final speech, I didn't really like how they did not give him a final speech. So I'll leave it at that. Through that lens, Jesse, if you can, take it away.
Yeah, I was very sad to lose that character. I thought it was a satisfying end, even though, like you said, he didn't get a last speech, but him doing the right thing and telling that young sailor, I can help you, and then he ends up going, no, I can't help you. None of us can do. I was hoping he was going to get out before he was infected somehow, but once you see that, it just was a very good way for it to show the how they contained the proto molecule. I was a little worried about Naomi and Alex being on there. And I did love Naomi going, I should have shot you to the admiral that's
Nguyen.
even
Yeah.
at the end, he's still just feeling evil
Yeah.
and happy that things are going. Yeah, this the protomolecule is just a such a great metaphor for that a weapon that should not be that's going to take over, that
Hmm.
it will end up destroying us. And whether that's climate change, nuclear weapons, however you want, but it is this something where people think they can control it, but you can't. So I loved everything as much as I hate losing him. I thought it was well written and well done, a gut punch, and happy that they figured they, at least for now, self-contained the Agatha, not going to happen anymore. And our admiral, the bad admiral, got hit what's coming to him as well. So that's another bad person. That's it. That's spoilers, three people we hated off the board this episode. That was, yeah, I just thought all of it was really well done. And I loved Christian. I know that man. Let me talk
Hmm.
to him. Let me talk to him. And he's turned it off and is saying, I guess we're even now about her son. I'm it is this, and it's not the character you would think that would have a noble self-sacrificing death, right? But he did, and it was cool.
Karen.
As you guys know, I've been a huge fan of Cotillard. So I was very sad. Spoiler to our listeners that I was sick last week, so we didn't do an episode last week. So it's been like a week and a half since Sean and I watched it. But when it happened, I was like, I see him going to set off the bomb or whatever, nuclear reaction. And I said, no. And Sean said, I'm sorry. So I figured at that point we were going to lose Cotillard. I actually liked that he was lost for words. I don't love that he didn't have a little soliloquy, but he did in his own way. He said goodbye when he said, I guess we're even to Christian's son. And the fact that Christian was listening, I think that probably touched her. He doesn't blame her for being in that mess. I was sad that we're not going to have him around anymore. But I think knowing him and knowing how the protomolecule works and him being by Christian's side through this whole thing, he thought that's the only thing he could do. And I think it was the best thing that he could do. They needed to do that to blow up the ship. I also, the scene in the jail cell, whatever, with the ensign,
Yep. And so,
yeah, I thought that was good too, that he doesn't want to come out and tell her you're dead. But when she asks point blank, he says, yeah, it's you're dead. Essentially, he just tells her. And she sucks it up. She's sad, obviously, but she sucks it up. And is it implied that he kills her, or does he just go off because he knows he's going to blow up the ship?
I guess I think that's left up for you to decide.
Okay. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure
And
either. I
yeah, I
kind of
think it,
think he would have done it if she'd
yeah,
asked,
same.
but if she didn't ask, I think he would have just left her.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, I thought it was funny that he says when he says, it'll blow up in, gosh, I don't know. I'm not an engineer. And he
Which,
killed
which,
that engineer.
which to my mind makes ask the question, this is then how do you know to do what you're doing?
There's that.
Yeah.
And it would have been handy to have that engineer around at that point, right?
Yeah.
There's parts of it that are darkly funny. And again, I'm gutted that we're
Hmm.
losing him. And I'm glad that, and foreshadowing, I'm glad that we still have Bobby.
Yeah. Yeah, I especially like the staging of the scenes inside the Agatha King, especially when Cotillard puts on the spacesuit and then goes out into the corridor. And you see all those people just floating there, but they're stuck to the floor because of their boots, but they're all
Boots, yeah.
dead, and it's like they're underwater kind of. I thought really freaky looking and really well done. And then when Cotillard's in the engineering chamber, reactor chamber, you can see that he's got protomolecule on his forehead. Now,
Yep,
how he got it, was it because of the gun that the girl gave him? I don't know.
I'm guessing, but
That was my guess. But because if he puts on a suit, though maybe that's not protection enough anymore because the show, and there's a lot of interconnections here, but the show, like Naomi asked the question, why is it attacking the metal? And then Kaz says that they must have learned some new tricks since it took the Arbogast apart on Venus. So it's all tied together, and the hybrid creature sees or is in communication with all the various aspects of the proto molecule wherever it is. It's all interleaved together, and it's just really well done. And I really enjoy that aspect of how the show does that. And the important thing to remember or to take away from the what Cass and Naomi do on the Agatha King is that she enables all the transponders on all the projectiles, hybrid projectiles that are heading towards Mars, and then that will tie into, might as well get it out of the way. It'll tie into Fred Johnson, who still has those missiles from before, just in case we forgot about that. And he uses those missiles to destroy the projectiles that are heading towards Mars. So just a really good job of tying so many disparate story elements together in this episode. And this really does play like the third episode in a trilogy. And yet at the same time, it's also the springboard for new things that will start to take place in the next episodes. Just really well done at that level. All right. And I also did really like the fact that Kodiar called out Naomi Christian's son,
yeah,
Sharon Pell,
Charing Pal.
and that Christian got to hear that, even though she
Yeah,
couldn't interact with Kodiar. So
so
I
good.
thought that was really well done. So that was probably that was the highlight of his final moments for me, anyhow.
Yeah.
All right, so now we get to the juicy stuff, I guess you could say, or at least for me, it was the part of the episode I enjoyed the most. We got like parallel storylines going on Io and the Rocinante to a smaller degree, but on IO we've got three storylines going as well. So
Mm.
we've got Strickland and Mao trying to escape. We've got Holden and his team trying to find the Mai. And then we've got Bobby and the hybrid. And let's go with Bobby first to give Jesse a chance to wax eloquent about his favorite character. And I wonder how much sense of dread did you have during those sequences with her leading on the hybrid?
I was a little worried about her, hopeful that they would not take her off the board, but understand that this series will do that. I was not spoiled. I had not looked up her name in IMDb to see how many episodes. I'm trying
Okay.
to stay away from that now because I see the spoiler part of it. Yeah, I thought it was really interesting her continuing to fight. The hybrid just keeps coming on like a Terminator from a James Cameron movie, right? It's gonna stop. It just not stop, keep going.
Yeah.
And her, but finally at the last minute, figuring out a way, almost she's out of power. And I just love anytime she's in that battle suit. I realize that she isn't special. That's anyone that has that kind of power suit has that kind of ability,
Yeah.
but we haven't seen other people in it.
Hmm.
And it reminds me of Iron Man. It also reminds me of the Robert Heinlein, not
Starship
Robert.
Troopers.
Yeah, exactly. Where
Yep.
about their battle armor.
Yep.
So it was just very cool. And then when she does end up at close range blowing out the brain, and then her just laying there, I'm gonna need a pickup. It's just, and then showing, and I get a kick out of every time that sick bay is used a lot in the Rossi. And then you put your arm in it. I guess it's the blood pressure and the where you, that's their version of an IV at
Yep.
the end. So yeah, great, great storytelling all the way around. Very suspenseful watching them doing her being the bait or just being having them follow along. So yeah, I loved everything about it.
Cool. Aaron.
Bobby, I love Bobby too, just so you know.
No, I know.
Bobby is a badass. I love anytime she walks into a room and everybody's shooting and she could just goes and the fight's over. I want to disagree with you, Jesse. I think she is special. I think knowing how to use that suit the way she does and the strategy that she employs makes her more effective in that suit than other people might be. And I understand what you're saying completely that if you have the suit, there's stuff you can do. You could fly and you could
Yes, but
shoot
I,
and all
I
that.
think that is a fair statement that she is really good at what she does.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
I would say if you look back at her team, she was the one that could do all that stuff. And her team, she needed them, but they were almost incidental. I
And
mean,
we have the ensign, the other sailor going, she is a blank. She's a Navy SEAL. She is special forces. She could take you out in a
yep,
second.
yep,
So
without the
yeah,
suit on.
yeah, she is the best of the best.
Yeah.
She
She was so
is,
great in that episode that we were,
yeah,
with the
like a
crew from the
reacher.
other
She
ship
is like
on.
a reacher, just this Marine that is just so good at what they do.
So I loved her. And, there was a parallel between her and Cotillard in this, in that she says, you go and save them. I'm going to draw him away.
Yeah,
Willing to make this sacrifice in order. And they say, no, don't. It's not good. But she says, no, I'm off. I'm
yeah.
going to take out this guy. At the very least, I can get him away from you. And of course, she wants to live, but there's part of her brain that says, and we know this already, that she doesn't underestimate the hybrid creature.
Yeah.
And there's also this parallel to what happened on Ganymede when she is laying there on Ganymede and there's a crack in her helmet and she sees the hybrid over her. And there's a scene almost like that where I think it's like a light reflecting off of her helmet in that same place where the crack was. And then the
Hmm.
hybrid comes over her, and this time she can take him out. Whereas
Yep.
before she was powerless. And I think that was a great way to show that she's on her way to healing over that. She got some revenge. And I also loved that when she's laying there, I'm gonna need an extraction. And you can just tell she is fighting at that point to stay with it. And that says something. If she's in that position, she needs someone to help her. And I thought it was a bait and switch in this episode where they make you think that she's going to make the sacrifice and then Cotillard does it. I'm super sad about Cotillard, but I'm incredibly happy about how Bobby is in this episode. I love her so much. She is so good at her job and she just does what she needs to do. There's no discussion.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, she's just, I'm going after him, and it doesn't matter what they say that they're like, no, don't go. She's off. She's got her mission, and that's to save the kids, get this guy out. And we know that in a previous episode, she was asking Alex, how did you kill it? She's trying to get all this information on how to kill it and all that. And so she's trying to use that information to get rid of him, although she takes her own way, which I thought was cool. And I was worried that it wasn't dead because it seems like you can do whatever you want to it and it just regenerates or whatever, but it looks like it's dead at least for now. So yeah, great storyline with them. We're not talking about the kids, right? We're just
Not
talking
yet.
about Bobby. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, great storyline.
Yeah, I really, and I've mentioned this before, is I like how the show takes characters, takes them out of their element, but it also gives them a chance to get in back into their element and shine. And obviously, in this sequence with for Bobby, this is where she gets to shine. This is what she was trained to do, and at the same time, this is her coming to terms with, as you mentioned, Karen, with what happened to her team on Ganymede. And the end there, where she's lying up looking at the hybrid, which we're it was a child. Remember, if you remember, it's hard to believe that this is that boy, which adds that extra layer of emotion to what's going on. And she's able to use her weapon to blow its brains out, literally, I guess you could say. And I assume that there's enough of a human form attached to that protomolecule that without the brain, it's not able to survive, at least immediately, or it would take time for it to start to generate. You could argue that if the protomolecule that hit the Agatha King was able to attach itself to metal, that and this hybrid was in contact with all the other protomolecules, t- technically shouldn't have been able to meld to her suit, but I guess that hadn't come yet. But that's a small hand wave, so it's not that big of a deal.
Could
Uh,
it be that he is just not completely turned? I
yeah,
mean, I thought that might be the case.
potentially. Yep,
Yeah,
that's there's room for interpretation definitely there.
sure.
I and the show does a great job of never pointing out to say, okay, now we're going to show you Bobby in our element, but they do put a pin on it when Christian tells her not to be crazy and go after the hybrid. She says, "With all due respect, madam, shut the fuck up."
Yeah, so good.
That was my
So
favorite moment
good.
of the whole thing. And when she's a technically Holden is leading that party, but really she's in command of the whole situation until she takes off on her mission to distract the hybrid while the team goes to rescue the kids. So
But she doesn't undermine Holden either,
no,
which I love.
no, for sure. So yeah, so that was, and because the show has killed off characters, like you're not quite sure if Bobby's going to make it or not, and there's that tension going on. It really adds to the drama of that sequence, and it's just kind of mind-blowing when you keep looking at this episode as a whole. There's just so much going on in this 40 minutes that you are blown away that they're able to juggle all these elements and yet still make a coherent episode with all these different story lines going on. I think that covers everything that we have with the Bobby section of the episode. Then we have the rest of the team, Holden and Prax and Amos, and gonna split that into two. And let's follow the Holden storyline to its conclusion. And Karen, I'll let you go again. What did you think about what Holden was going through? And we'll even include his final scenes with Naomi on the Rocinante.
Okay. So we're talking about him and Mal.
Yep.
Is that okay? Because I feel like he didn't have a lot to do with the kid storyline, but when he realized that Mal, he sees Mal, right, on a
Hmm.
monitor, he says, I know who we can talk to about this.
Yep.
And he goes after Mal. I thought that was fantastic. He needs a mission. We've said this before. He needs a mission.
Yep.
This was his mission, his windmill, as it were.
He needs a crusade.
Yeah.
Yep.
Even if it's a small one. He had the let's save the kids, which was a mission as well. And that was
Hmm.
taken care of with Amos and Prax. He decides, I'm going to get Mal. Great beat there when he shows up in the hallway and Mal's there. And Mal says, Ah, Mr. Holden, that it just shows how far of a reach he had with that distress call all the way back in season one when he wasn't the Holden we know now. He was a complete friend. And
Yep.
I think Mal, just from that knowledge, completely underestimated him in that moment. But then very quickly, he understands that he better do it what Holden says. And he's a coward. And we know he's a coward, right? As soon as when he was on his little barge, as soon as he heard we got to eliminate Christian, he's out. Boop. You could see like a vapor trail, how quick he got out of there. And he wanted to go because they were going to get fired on in this episode. He said to Strickland, okay, shut it down. Let's go. He knows how to take care of himself. But I do think that a lot of it is adrenaline from being completely terrified of him being hurt. And I don't know, is that a bad read or do you think he might be kind of cowardly? I was wondering.
No, that's a good read.
Okay. So when Holden confronts him in the hallway, he doesn't want to take shit from him. He asks, I don't remember what he was asking about. Maybe you can refresh my memory. Where he asks him about something and he says, "Is it this?" And he says, "No." Okay, is it this? What were you
No,
gonna
he wanted to know if he could gain if he had the codes to gain control of the pods.
right? And he
And
says,
he's
"Can
no.
we?
Yeah.
No.
No.
Can we do this? No." And then he says, "Then shut up.
Yeah. Or
I don't want to
have you
hear
found
from you."
a solution for what's going on Venus
Right.
yet? Yep.
And he says, "Okay, I don't want to hear from you anymore then."
Yep.
And then he orders him to carry all the stuff
The
because
data
Mao's
cores. Yep.
right. Mao's not used to being told he has to carry stuff. He's not a pack mule. He's the guy
Yep.
that orders everyone around. I love that he's being put on the back foot here. And also when he shows up back on the Rossi with him, I just love how everyone looks at him like, okay, this might be good to have him here at our mercy. And he sees Christian. That was on there too, right? Where Mal and Christian see each other, or no? Is that
Yes.
just in my head? Okay.
Nope. Yep. That was actually a nice beat because
Yeah,
Holden brings him into the room and pushes him down to his knees, and then Mao has to look up at Christian.
Christian. And they both know that he was okay with her being killed
Yep.
on the barge. And he ordered his dudes to go ahead and do it.
Yep.
And now, if I were Christian, I'd be rubbing my hands together. But also, she understands he's an asset in the
Yep.
whole proto-molecule thing. So, yeah, again, another great storyline in this episode with Holden and Mal. He is another thing I love about the show, nobody breaks character. Everybody does what is in their character to do, even if it surprises you, you understand why they did it. And I feel like that's very clear with Holden.
Very good. Jesse.
Yeah, I thought this was great. One of the things that I think is very interesting is the way they Holden that has become that is some of the shtick they do,
Yeah.
right? Oh, it's Holden. Of course it is. And it's what? And so I like that. I like that when it continues that going on. Yeah, it was really funny, and I did love the scene where at the end he's in front of Christian and it's almost like a puppy bringing the ball. Here,
Hmm.
That's a
look,
very good
look what I've got
description.
for you.
What a
Yeah.
great analogy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's just in Christian looking there, yes. So yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah. It's a very satisfying conclusion to that, or I should say,
Yes.
at least in this episode, it's a very satisfying moment
Yes.
for Mao to finally have to face Christian.
I will
And
say he's not the biggest coward in this episode, though.
no, no, we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And we didn't talk about in the aftermath of that. And I'll let you go first, Jesse, since you're talking about it. But we have your shipper wish come true to a certain extent, but it's not totally happy.
Yeah. Yeah. Holden and Naomi end up making up. We get to see a really intimate,
Meow,
lovely
chicka,
scene of
wow,
them
wow.
post fooling around and he realizes she's got to leave. And I don't quite understand why she has to leave, except she thinks she does, and he understands it. And so they get their grace. And I like that idea that in a grown-up relationship, you you want the other person to be happy. And he is choosing her happiness. And so I thought that was a very lovely ending. This does feel like a season finale, which is odd because it's halfway in the season. So, but I liked how they wrapped up a lot of storylines on that. So,
Hmm.
yes, they've made it, they've kissed and made up. And no matter what happens now, we can see what happens.
Yep. Karen. And I'm
Ma-
curious about your thoughts on how that scene was blocked, because one could argue that was a very stereotypical shot. And if the show is as progressive as it's portraying itself, um, perhaps the other person should have been with his backside to the camera.
I don't know. They were hot.
Yeah.
It didn't matter whose backside was to the
Okay, I was
camera.
just curious for
You
your
know,
point of view as a woman.
they were so hot in that
Yeah.
moment. And I'm half and half on them as a ship because I understand now Holden forgives her, but there's still some reservations there because of the whole, hey, let's tell Fred to release the missiles. And he's obviously hesitant to do that. And I do think that's what alerts him to the fact that she's going to leave because she says to Fred that, hey, we have a chance here to get some cred in this whole conflict to
Right.
help the belt. And to Holden, he sees that right now her first instinct is to help the belt, and it can't be done on the Rossi. And that's him projecting that she'll be gone. And the fact that she just comes out and admits it, yeah, I can't stay here. I thought that was a nice little bit at the end of the episode that they kiss and make up, as it were, and that Holden understands her, where I don't think he completely understood her before. They were in love, but I don't think he got it. And I think now he's finally understood her basic tendencies, whereas before I think he had rose-colored glasses on.
Yeah, I agree with that to a degree, but I also think it's because the fact that she didn't let him in all the way, and
Yeah,
she didn't tell
100%.
her, he didn't understand her belter background to the degree that how it colors her perceptions of her and her motivations, and that's why she has to leave because she wants to help the Belters in this power struggle between Earth and Mars. So that's why that separation is going to be taking place. So I think that should clear that up for you a bit, Jesse, as to why
Yeah.
they're separating.
Yeah, I just don't necessarily if I agree with her, but yeah, I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. More to come. You'll find
Yeah,
out.
sure.
And it's very apparent when she jumps on the fact that Fred's going to do the right thing when no one else is sure of that. That's going to be her focus now. I think that was them giving us that telescoping,
Yeah.
hey, she's going to go with Fred. I'm
And
Yeah.
assuming
I
that's where she's going.
yeah, and I think it also shows that she is saying we all have to do it this time. Like she goes,
Yeah.
this is we have to we have to do all of this. And I
Hmm.
thought that was very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
learned her lesson.
Yeah. And her team did the right thing. They said, yeah, this would work.
Mm.
And I like the way that they were telling Fred, hey, this is what we can do. And so interesting that you had Chekhov's missiles. He had taken those missiles,
Yep.
and
Hmm.
now we've got, right? Yeah.
Yep, that's one of the two Chekhov story points that we have in this episode, and we'll get to the other one at the very end. So now let's turn to the emotional core or heart of the episode. At least I think we're all in agreement with that, is the Prax, Amos, Strickland, my intersection point and how that was carried out. And we had hints of the show. We were like we had discussed a little bit in the last episode how Prax has become much more focused on or less concerned about what's the word I'm looking for. He's feeling more ruthless, I guess you could say, or obsessed about finding May and at whatever cost, which is running counter to his character to a certain degree, I think you could say, at least with what's been established. And that is paid off in this storyline with, I don't know if that moment, Jesse, I'll go with you, is were you surprised at how things played out? And you don't have to talk about that first. You can go through whatever you want to, but I think it was well constructed that it was a slight misdirection as to where we thought the conclusion of that whole storyline was going to go. But it works out really well for the characters as we know them. Take it away and talk about whatever you want with that in mind.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go to the ending first just because there was a cool moment when Prax is sitting there with the gun and you see the hand. First off, our scientist is just the biggest weasel ever, right? He's going to use the kids, then, and his assistant is not much better. Oh, yeah, we can use them as leverage.
Yeah.
And then for half a second, I thought he might get away with it. And I went, no, come on.
Except for those meddling kids.
Yeah, that's smarter than that. And so when he's sitting there and Amos says, you're not that guy, in my mind, I said, but I am that kind of guy. I
Hmm.
knew what was going to happen.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same.
And
I actually said it out loud to Sean.
I did, I said it to myself.
Yeah.
And then Chris heard just the ending. He was walking by. So I backed it up so you could see the whole sequence.
Oh, yeah.
And Chris, yep, but I am that kind of guy. And so it was incredibly when Prax says, this is my best friend in all the world. And Amos looks like, really? Riley?
News to me. Yeah.
Yeah. And just so happy. And they have bonded. This is
Hmm.
Hmm.
something they have shown us a lot.
Yeah.
And I love May. What took you so long? Why didn't you come get me? If you only knew, brat. Amos saying no. You don't get your hands dirty. I get my hands dirty. This isn't going to bother me no more than hitting a mosquito.
Yeah.
This
Hmm.
is just purely me taking out the trash. So I loved the ending. I loved the kind of way they played this out, and very satisfied that we didn't get one, we didn't get two, but we get three people that we dislike taken off the board, at least two of them permanently, and one at least for a while.
All right.
Yeah.
Karen.
Yeah, I loved their interactions, Prax and Amos's interactions. As soon as Holden left, they were back to their bromance thing. And I feel like they don't really have to talk a lot to get what the other person is going to do. I enjoyed that scene where Prax sends the kids off with Amos and he says, "This is Amos. He's my best friend. You can trust him. Go with him." And the kids all go with him. And I did wonder where he left the kids. Did he
Hmm.
take them to the ship already
No, they're just out in the
before
corridor.
before he came back and
Yeah.
helped practice? So he got them to a protected area and then he went back to, because he knew, now this guy's my friend, a true friend. I'm not going to let him have that stain on his soul. And that was incredibly touching for me that Amos, he knows he can handle it. Like Jesse said, it's squashing a bug. He doesn't care. If it's a bad guy, he's all right with them being killed, whether at his hand or at someone else's. But
Hmm.
he knows that Prax isn't like that. And we saw that his hand started to shake when he had the gun pointed at him. I do wonder, and I'm not saying this is going to be communicated to us at all. I wonder if part of Prax is sad that he didn't get to pull the trigger because of what was done to his daughter and also the kid, the other
Um,
kid.
I think if you watch that scene again, you'll get your answer to that question.
Okay, I'll
Like
that then.
his face after
I
they
know he
show the
looks
shot where
really
Amos puts his
relieved.
hand on the gun,
Right.
and then they go to Prax. Like I think
Yeah.
that's the answer to your question.
Okay. So there, he knows that Amos is going to take care of it. He's okay with that.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
think he's glad that Amos is stepping up to
That he
do that.
doesn't have, okay.
Yeah, that's my
That's
read.
cool.
But
Yeah, no, it makes sense. He does look incredibly relieved
mm,
that he doesn't have to do it. Just in my mind, I would have wanted to be there if he did something like that to someone I loved. And that's terrible. I hate saying that, but I feel that way in real life sometimes that some people are a waste of air. There are people like that on our planet. And so it doesn't bother me at all if they get executed or killed by police or whatever. And again, like I said, that's terrible of me. But in this case, Strickland, another super coward. He, as long as it saved him, he was ready to jump on it. He killed his nurse, buddy. And I think the nurse was going along with him because she was scared
absolutely, yeah,
when she said, "Oh, yeah, we can use the kids." She's hesitant about it, but she knows where Strickland's mind is and she thinks that will protect her.
mm,
But I think Strickland, he knows that she's dead weight at that point and he shoots her. That's cowardly, though, right? That he knows that she's going to drag him down in anything to save himself. And the fact that he lets Katoa go out. This is what you're made for.
yeah,
And yeah, but it's a shield for him.
yeah,
If I let him out, he'll kill them. He has complete confidence. And I really don't think Katoa was done cooking. That's my point of view on that. That's why
right,
Bobby could take him out.
yes, yep,
But yeah, what a weasel. Seriously, he is
yeah,
terrible. So,
yeah. The show doesn't really dwell in that. Sometimes you just have to have a villain to be a villain. But it doesn't dwell at all. And like, how does a guy like Strickland come to be, like to get to where he is, where we see him in the show? Because
don't care.
we don't really care, but he's dramatically, he works quite well. I think the actor did a fantastic job playing the
Yeah,
part.
I
The look on his relief on his face when Amos stops Prax was priceless, and you're going to yourself, dude, you don't know what
Yep.
which
You
makes it
don't
even
know
better because we
Amos.
all know what's going to happen, and
Yeah,
Strickland
we
doesn't.
do.
So yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which just makes it even more delicious when it finally happens, right? Yeah, so that was really well played. I love the moment when like you said, when Prax says, "Go, this is my friend Amos, my best friend Amos," and she says hi and puts out her hand to him. He looks at her, takes her hand. I thought that was just such a touching moment. And yeah, that was just a very satisfying payoff to that whole storyline. And they push it as much as far as they could that she was like next in line to be injected with the proto molecule. This rescue was basically in the nick of time. So very satisfying. I thought was really well done and very satisfying emotionally. And I'm curious, Jesse, because I know you had reservations about Amos as a character. I'm just wondering what you're feeling about him right now.
Oh, I'm loving him. I think he is so loyal. And I do think in his own way he has a set of morals, right? A code that he's following. And I think, yeah, I think I don't know if I'd want to be in a 8 hour card ride with him sharing, but
Yeah.
I do know,
Passing around the beef jerky.
yeah, but I do know that if I'm building a team, I want someone like Amos on my team.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah.
That there were so many little funny things in this episode, and yet
Hmm.
it was so incredibly serious.
Yeah.
Yes.
So again, I love that writing.
Awesome. And of course, in typical The Expanse style, we've got this major conflict between Earth and Mars. Looks like it has been resolved. And then we get the shot of the protomolecule from Venus rising up from the surface, looking a lot like the Arbogast in general shape, but it's still very weirdly alien. And Amos is pouring the milk into the kid's cereal. He's going, "What the fuck is that?"
Yep.
That was just great.
So good.
Karen, what do you think about that last shot, and what are your thoughts about what's going on there?
So creepy. I don't remember who did Cthulhu, who wrote that
Yep,
stuff.
yep.
It was very Cthulhu-esque. They've got tentacles coming out
Lovecraft.
of
Yep,
it. And yeah, Lovecraftian. Thank you.
yep.
Yeah, very old god looking spaceship. It's like its own hybrid, right? And it makes me wonder, did he take the life from the planet as well? Like all the people that were on the Arbogast and all of that in order to merge them into this ship? I say he, but the proto-molecule. So I'm guessing we'll see what exactly went into that Borg circle. It was weird. It's a weird looking craft with little pieces coming off of it and tentacles, and it
Hmm.
understands how the Arbogast worked, but it doesn't quite put it together. It's someone putting together IKEA furniture and having a bolt left over,
Hmm.
right? It might not be 100% correct, but it works.
Yep.
So yeah, you kind of get that feeling. Amos taking care of the kids, that was great. I thought that was a nice little bow to put on the top of his part in this episode. I love that they took the kids and that we've only lost Katoa out of those children, at least as far as we know,
You're right.
and that Prax knows that Katoa was taken because we did have that scene earlier where he has a chat with Katoa's father, and Katoa's father is like bereft at the loss of his kid. So
Yep.
that's sad. But him coming together with May. Okay, so you mentioned this that May says, Jesse, that May says, "Why didn't you come for me sooner?" And I thought, what? How is he supposed to come for you sooner? Because Strickland, and she's a kid, I get that, but I felt Prax should say, "I did come for you. I'm here." And I know it wasn't instant or anything, but they were spirited away at that point. And I wonder how informed she is of how close she came. Is that going to be something that Prax has to explain to her? Because they still trusted him at
I,
the end, right?
I think that he hopes she never knows that.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah,
But
I think,
there are inklings when she said that he did something to Katoa, that she
yeah,
knows something bad happened to Katoa. So yeah, but I agree with you. I'm thinking that he's glad that she doesn't understand exactly what was going on.
yeah.
Okay. And that is everything I had on the episode to go around the table. Karen, anything else you want to add?
I kind of want to add something, but I also want to use it for my rating, so I'm not going to say anything about it.
Okay, fair enough. Jesse?
Yeah, I just thought this was a great, as I said, trilogy. I loved the stories, and we've still got a lot to talk about, like post-war. Where are we gonna go? So yeah, I just think this was wonderful. Enjoyed watching all of these multiple times. And I will echo again what we keep saying. We're glad you picked this series. It is just amazing
Hmm.
that we're getting to spend this time together and talk about this.
Phil? Karen?
I meant to mention also that when Nguyen says they only need one to get through to
Hmm.
Mars,
Yep.
it's almost in real life where it only takes one missile to
Yep.
hit someone and that's it. So yeah, I thought that was impactful as well. Sorry,
Very
I
cool.
didn't mean to.
All righty. So we're going to do episode ratings, and I will let you go first, Karen.
Okay, so you guys can't steal it from me.
That-
I give it 9.5, and I would give it higher, but Cotillard died, so I can't. 9.5 teddy bears. And I was going to mention that scene where he shows her the backpack and he pulls
Yep.
out the teddy
Yep.
bear. Very
Jesse?
touching.
Yeah, I'm going to give it another 10. I've given all three of these 10s just because I love them so much. And I'll give it 10 out of 10 exhausted bobbies.
Very good. I'll give it because it's the conclusion of the trilogy. I'm also going to give it a 10, and I'll give it 10 Starship Troopers.
Awesome.
Nice.
I like that.
Alrighty,
Yeah, like I
so
said, I think I was leaning towards a 10, except for the
mhm,
Cotillard thing.
Yeah.
So,
sure. Yeah. Yep, no problem. That's cool. Okay, so that's our discussion of this episode. The next week it'll be episode 7, which is
felt
and
defeat.
Jesse will get to lead that discussion. In true Expanse style, we're seeing a couple of players being taken off the board, which means that some new players are going to come on the board, and I can't wait for you to meet some of these new players. So that will be very exciting. And one of them is the actor that Jesse's wife loves to hate. So that will be awesome.
Ah, okay. Nice.
So we'll leave it at that. And Karen, where can people find you and
They can
find out what
email.
you're going to write about?
There you go. You can email us at jklmediareviews@gmail.com. I am at Alveria on my very sparse social media profiles, and my blog is allystuff.com.
Very good.
I,
Jesse.
yeah, I am at Jesse Jackson DFW on social media. You can find me talking music on Set Lusting Bruce. It is almost the end of June, and that wraps up our Bruce Pride and Bruce month, where I had a series of episodes discussing people's experiences with music and coming out. I'm really proud of the month. We come in, my first two episodes of July are going to be political. I have someone who thinks Bruce is a greedy pig for charging money for this latest tour. And I have a man who ran for Congress in my district who did not win. And we had a really interesting discussion. So those are coming up. And of course, Small Council Matters, the House of the Dragon podcast that I'm part of, has just started, and we would love if you would go over there, tuning into Sci-Fi TV, look for House Small Council Matters, and you can hear us talking about HOD.
Very good.
Cool.
And You can find me on this YouTube channel, JKL Media Reviews, where, of course, we're doing The Expanse, waiting for Severance and Pluribus to come back. Also do one-offs. Just did the Bruce Springsteen episode, the Bruce on Broadway. Though it's Springsteen on Broadway, I still think he should have called it Bruce on Broadway, or Bob for short. And we're going to do Rush next, the Canadian progressive metal group that I'm very curious to hear Karen and Jesse's reaction to it. And on my own YouTube channel, I've got the complete episode of the series episode reviews of the Babylon 5 series, including the animated movie. And I've got my writers podcast and my Stephen King podcast. And on Twitter and X, you can find me at Lou W. Sitzma, Sytsma. And that's it for now. We're going to shut down the Epstein drive and we'll start it back up to the next week when we get to the next episode. So until then, take care. Bye bye.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
And scene.
The proceeding has been a JKL Media production.